All right, let's talk about some multi-goal score lines here for the victors over the course of week 3. Let's start with Gotham FC versus Orlando Pride. Lisa, what do we have for the picks? Let's remind everyone joining us here. Oh,
You had Gotham and I had a draw for this one. So congratulations, Sandra.
you said so. Congratulations. Listen, I just to throw it back. When we did our preview in this one, I said, I believe I said I'm going to go with Gotham, but I won't be surprised if this one turns into a draw. And I think that was also, a little bit of an incorrect prediction as well, because I don't know if we could have predicted that this game would have had as much stoppage time
Oh my gosh.
within it as there was. I think that's something that we got to chat a little bit about with this game as well.
I mean, completely full disclosure, like to the people listening and joining us live, I did not get to watch this game live. That happened yesterday. It was one of the earlier games. So I had seen the scoreline and I had seen a little bit on social media, kind of what had happened. So I'm rewatching it today, and I don't look intently at the stats before I fully watch a game. I usually I see stuff on social, and I saw that Gotham had won. So as I'm watching this game unfold, I'm like, where are the goals? I'm like, we're in the 80th minute. What's happening? And then I'm like, oh, we're at the end of stoppage time. This must be wrong. Like I must have thought it was 2-0 and it was really only 1-0. No, Lynn Williams gets the final goal in the 90th minute plus 17 minutes at the end of this game in regulation. Insane.
Look, I'm with you. I think the added time was obviously was a talking point for folks, but these two teams, when we were previewing this game, you had a draw. You saved your draw for this one. I remember in the preview, and I said, okay, well, I'm kind of feeling the same thing, but I'm gonna go with Gotham just because I thought they had a little bit more. And I think this game to start kind of had maybe the starting lineups could have like shown us that there was going to be some weird energy around it. Mitch Purse not a starter in this one. Juan Carlos Amaros kind of maybe trying some different things out. And then Orlando Pride, we got to see the return of Martha to the bench. Got to start in this game as well. And it's like, okay, it's like let's see what this game has in store. And it turns out it had 90 plus minutes of 0 goals between these two teams. And I mean, if
you can't write this. You can't make this up.
You can. And I think if you're looking at the length of time in this game, and if you're the Pride where you're only getting 6 shots over the course of this, nearly double it's like you have the period of extra time ultimately at the end of this game that you, with your 2 attempts on target and your 6 shots. I'm not too sure that's something that you're looking at and saying, okay, progress that we're making here. But if you're Gotham, I think you are maybe looking at that and saying, okay, progress in terms of like some of the numbers that you're looking at the end of your game. I think another area in which you're looking at progress are kind of these like very specific game scenarios, because Mitch Purse comes into this game as a substitute for Gotham and just has an immediate impact on the pitch for this team. Is ultimately the player that slots away the penalty kick. I thought it was a really well taken penalty. And then just when you think, okay, this game is going to come down to one of these narrow score lines that you absolutely have to try to kill out the clock if you're ultimately awarded a PK and convert that late in the game. But with the VAR reviews that came into play with some of the injury stoppage time, there was extended stoppage time added on top of the stoppage time. And that in itself is a unique game scenario. And I loved that Lynn Williams, one of these players that we've been talking about for Gotham that are on the hunt for a spot on the World Cup pitch, utilizes this unique game scenario in front of her. And when you think Williams is going into the corner, she says, bats up. We're going to go ahead and put this game on ice. It was cold. It was absolutely cold from Lynn Williams. I love it.
It was such a heads up play by Lynn Williams, honestly. I mean, but as you talked about, like the initial goal for Gotham that came from the spot for Midge Purse, the penalty kick option, it took forever to decide what was going to happen with this. And that was already at the end of the game, at the end of regulation. And then from there, we saw, I mean, we're in 10 minutes of stoppage time at this point. I forget how much was added on. I should know this, but it's at that point, you're kind of like, okay, we're just kind of waiting for the whistle to blow. Gotham was taking the ball to the corner for the most part. They were just looking for time to run out. They were possessing. Orlando looked a bit depleted at this point. They also kind of waiting for the whistle to run out and just kind of let this game play out. And initially, when the ball is played by Purse long over the top and Lynn Williams gives chase to it, she looks like she's going to the corner. She takes a touch. She's got McCutcheon, the Orlando defender, on her. And McCutcheon kind of gives her the corner. But by giving Williams the corner, it opened up the near post. And we're talking like 35 yards out on the near sideline is where Williams is with the ball. So it's not like she's like 20 yards from goal or inside the 18-yard box by any means. But McCutcheon is very obviously saying, okay, she's going to dribble to the corner. I'm just waiting for the final whistle to blow. And Lynn Williams takes that as a wide open door, which is exactly what you want to see from a potential World Cup forward starter for the United States. Takes it right to goal, cuts it on her right foot, and slots it home. It looked so easy. I paused the game as I'm watching this, and I was like, that was it? That's how this happened? Like, it was so easy. She just waltzed her way into right in front of the net and found the back of the net. But that's the beauty of really good soccer players, is they make it look so easy. And that's what Williams did.
Yeah, doing that all with the arm sleeve, right there, and just making it look effortless. Honestly, It was like I said, it was ice cold. I love a killer. Lynn Williams is a killer. You love to see it. On the other side of things, another heartbreaker for Orlando. Let's talk about what this means for them a little bit. There was a break for the international window here, so they've had some time to think about how they dropped points in their last game against Angel City. And unfortunately, another scenario in which there's a late game stoppage time within it, and they are walking away with 0 points in a game at home.
Yeah, bad.
Tough for a team trying to take those steps in the rebuild.
It's really tough for Orlando. I think definitely a bright spot getting Marta back as she rotated into this game. I think there are definitely moments of greatness. I mean, Messiah Bright getting a start up top. I think that has to do with her week 2 play for Orlando against Angel City. Bright was a very big bright spot for this Orlando side. Adriana, I also think, had a very good game, but it's almost like these players are doing such individual greatness and having those individual strengths, but they're not really getting on the same page when it comes down to it. They need someone to kind of link them all together, bring everything together and all the magic, because there is moments where Gotham had to defend very well and had to put up big moments against Orlando, and Abby Smith coming up with some big saves as well. Like, they have the pieces there, but there is not any consistency and there's not any cohesiveness between the lines, and player partnerships just haven't been developed enough on the field for Orlando. And unfortunately, they suffered their 3rd straight loss. They head to the bottom of the table, not looking great for Orlando at this point.
I'm curious to see how a team like the Pride sort of takes something like this, these opening 3 weeks, into something like the Challenge Cup, where I think we're maybe expected to see even more rotation for players, as that is going to be something that runs concurrently with this season from here on out. So we'll see. I think for now, when you're talking about teams who are trying to look ahead and trying to lay those bricks down and their foundation, maybe you try to look for those silver linings, I guess, within these kind of tough losses, especially to kind of open the season. And I think you don't want to have 2 consecutive games where you concede in the manner in which you did, right? Late game stoppage time, but you're also looking at maybe those individual performances. So I'm with you 100% on the continued minutes that we're seeing for Messiah Bright. I love that we got to see Viviana Villacorta in this game as well, coming in as a sub for Marta as well. I think these are all small things I think that you could sort of try to take away and hang your hat on as you continue to try to build throughout 2023. Speaking of another team that's also trying to figure some things out moving forward in the regular season, Chicago Red Stars picking up their first win in week 3, a 4-2 victory against Kansas City Current. We got some goal scorers to talk about here, and we've got some more question marks around Kansas City Current. Penelope Hawking, the number 7 draft pick for the Chicago Red Stars, not getting not just her first, but second professional goals as a NWSL pro. So first career goal as a pro and first career brace as a Chicago Red Star. And we also got to see the start for Shayna Matthews on the attacking line for the Chicago Red Stars. Was part of media availability just ahead of this game. Asked head coach Chris Petroselli, how do things change? Like, what are the conversations like, with your attacking core, specifically in light of losing a player like Swanson? And he just kind of kept it pretty honest and said, well, first of all, you tell them that there's no replacing a player like Mallory Swanson. You just can't do that. It's near impossible because of the form that she was hitting at the time. And you just sort of let them know that this is an opportunity and that they're going to take it week to week and sort of see it's going to be forward by committee. And who knows, that maybe they'll even look outside for some additional help as well. But for now, they just kind of got to take it one game at a time. So I was excited to see the first official start for Shayna Matthews. This is someone they've utilized off the bench the last couple of weeks as someone who's getting back and trying to get back into form and into 90 minutes a game before going off to a World Cup herself with Jamaica. And I thought the combination of Ella Stevens and Penelope Hawking and Shayna Matthews was very good. It was it was a delight to see, but it came against the Kansas City side that is struggling right now, Lisa. So
perhaps that helps the confidence of a Chicago side, right? That needed the confidence boost now that they don't have Swanson to put 4 goals up, right? Like, I think that's helpful for Chicago moving forward. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying here for Chicago because this 4-2. Are you kidding me? 6 goals in this game?
Look,
like,
here's what I do know. I know that I had this game as a draw because I did not expect there to be 6 goals in this game. And I know you went with the Red Stars in this one, didn't you?
No, I went with Kansas City. Thank you for giving me that credit.
No, but both wrong.
You did go with the draw. I mean, we had talked about in our preview of this game that maybe it was going to be the best soccer, right? Or not the best soccer, but the most entertaining or the most open. It was maybe going to be a little bit slower, lots of possession, a lot of buildup, teams trying to figure things out. I mean, Kansas City still dealing with a ton of injuries. And that was a factor that we talked about a lot. Like, depending on who Kansas City had available, that was going to change the course of this game. You and I talked about Shayna Matthews, if she was going to get minutes and a start in this game, how that would change and help Chicago. And it sure did. I mean, I think Shayna Matthews was such a bright spot in the front line for the Red Stars. It was Ella Stevens, Penelope Hawking, and Shayna Matthews in that front line. And those 3 have big shoes to fill without Swanson. And I think that Petroselli's honesty with the media, with the team, is the only way to go forward with this, because there is no replacing Swanson. I mean, we've heard it from Vlatko Andonovski at the international level, and there is no way to replace that. But this is a very good start to it, right? I wasn't sure if we were going to see Yuki Nagasato play higher up the pitch. Instead, she did drop a little bit more centrally and playing in that midfield, allowing Stevens a lot of space to run. But Penelope Hocking, holy cow, 2 goals for the young rookie in this one. I mean, it is truly fantastic. But Ella Stevens opening the scoring in the 4th minute of this game, after a near miss by Michelle Cooper, right? So we're talking so much about the Red Stars. They did get 4 goals. They pick up the 3 points and a win over Kansas City, and a depleted Kansas City side that's dealing with a lot of injuries, but they didn't look like the scoreline maybe would suggest, or they didn't look how being at the bottom of the standings would suggest for this Kansas City side. With the lineups that Matt Potter put forward, it was a 5-back with about 4 in the midfield, and then Michelle Cooper as that lone striker that had the ability and the freedom to roam, to run at Chicago's back line, and to cause problems. And that's what we saw Kansas City do. In the opening 3 minutes, Cooper had a breakaway where she picks off Tierna Davidson, incredible press by Cooper to pick off Davidson. And then she makes this 55-yard sprint and she ends up shooting the ball right at Alyssa Nair. Well, it goes wide, but that shot has to be on goal. And the fact that Cooper couldn't put it away is a bit frustrating, I think, for Kansas City, right? Because you make all these big moves to get the number 2 pick in the draft and to go for a Cooper. And there are so many bright spots, but Kansas City has to start winning and they have to start picking up points. And they looked dangerous. They had a lot of good moments. We saw Dabinia get her first goal ultimately with this Kansas City side. Vanessa DiBernardo in the midfield playing against her old club in Chicago.
Yeah.
A lot of bright spots, but I mean, Chicago, holy cow.
I think those are...
Yeah.
I think those are the silver lining
in the midfield too. I want to know your thoughts on that and how she looked in teal, not sky
blue.
Blue.
I think those are the silver linings, right? I mean, this is one of the big 3 of the free agents that they got over the off season. They landed Dabinia, they got Morgan Gautrat and Vanessa DiBernardo, and I think you could sort of tell that their midfield probably welcomed the return, even if it was just for I believe it was just about 60 minutes or so from Vanessa DiBernardo to make her Kansas City debut. But one of those silver linings or bright spots that you're taking away out of a loss like this, the fact that you could still try to chip away even late in the game at a goal, at a score line like that at that point, and that it comes from one of your big free agent signings and somebody like with Dabinia. But I think also Mimi Larson as well is kind of one of those bright spots that you're looking at. I mean, we talked about Kansas City and their struggles in this early phase of the regular season, but that's another one of those silver linings I think that you're looking at, that those first 4 to 6 weeks of a regular season don't necessarily make or break your season, but you definitely don't want to drop 3 consecutive results. And that's kind of the water that the current are still trending in a little bit. But I think another pro start for Michelle Cooper is massive. I think we are absolutely witnessing the very early beginnings of what is going to be a feature star kind of caliber player in this league. We saw kind of the cramping up happening a little bit that comes with learning and being a pro and getting those extended minutes, which I don't know if Kansas City anticipated asking that of her this early in the phase of the season, but here she is. But I think getting minutes for Larson, getting minutes for DiBernardo, and the swap for swap there in the hour mark, I thought was very, very good for this team. And I think little by little, we're going to start to see Kansas City maybe try to turn some things as they welcome some of these players back into the fold. I mean, it's still a loss, but you make it a somewhat respectable loss, I guess. And you're like, hey, we only lost by 2 goals instead of 4.
Right. And I think as you're mentioning, like the silver linings and everything that's to come, Kansas City signing Croy Soto, the defender, who came in for a trial. They just signed her last week, and she got rotated into this game around the 80th minute. So you're getting these young players. I mean, a player that's only been training with you for a couple weeks at this point, you're getting them game minutes in crucial regular season games before the Challenge Cup, before everything else is to come. And the fact that they could go down 4-0 and then respond and get 2 more goals, like that's tremendous, despite even one of the Chicago goals being called an own goal against AD Franch. And it was an own goal. It was a shot by Sheena Matthews. Off the post.
Just some bad luck too.
Yeah, it's and Franch makes the save initially that tips it wide and it goes off the post, and then it hits off Franch's back and goes in the back of the net. Like, truly unfortunate, but that's the 3rd goal that Chicago is able to get. And then Kansas City can respond, and they get one from Dabinia in the 74th minute. She immediately picks up the ball, runs it back to the spot. No celebration, down to business. Let's go. So a lot of positives for sure for Kansas City.
Yeah, I think there's enough here to where they're looking at. They say maybe we got to make some adjustments down the road, but I think also that the positives that some of these players are getting back and closer into form. I know there hasn't been as much of an update on someone like for Kristen Hamilton, for example, in terms of how close or not close she is to returning. But you have to imagine that somebody with players with Hamilton and Dabinia and the history that they have playing together previously in North Carolina Courage, that's something that you're not going to have to worry about in terms of familiarity between those 2 players. You just sort of, it's almost like this kind of wait and see approach, I think, right now with the current and the fact that they can get some goals from players who are making their debuts and making their return to the pitch for Kansas City, are maybe some of the highlights that they're trying to take away from these games. And if you're Chicago, you're elated that you finally got your first win of the season. Petroselli in postgame saying, we did not want to lose 3 games in the start of this regular season. So good on them for getting it. And Kansas City still building